Good morning. It's indeed a delight for me to welcome once again uh, every delegate or panelist, especially Mr. Shivkumar. I'm a real fan of him because my journey really started as a franchisee. You know, I used to be a franchisee for a telecom company way back in '95, and so my first love remains with telecom. You know, and I followed his Nokia priority model, which I think was fabulous. And I was telling him sitting there and say, that was real franchising, because then you really involved thousands of entrepreneurs and created a market share which we all know. So this morning is special. Why? Because we are doing this, like Ritu mentioned, this is the first World Franchise Congress after 600 franchise shows Franchise India has done, right? So it's first. So it has to be special. So what is special about it? I think there are a couple of things which are very, very special about it. One, I feel that this product we have created for the world. Second, I also feel that this would also enable our thinking that how can we make our franchise systems ready for the world. Our special partnership with Pepsi, I think the three gentlemen sitting here have really shared their great insight, and I think it's a fabulous organization with a great responsible franchising being done in various parts of the world, managing cultures, experience of consumer, and so on and so forth. So there's a great learning from them. And third, I think special is because I feel that the consumer is changing faster than ever. Today we are living in a world which we cannot really predict how people consume, how they buy. Recently, Maggie was selling on Snapdeal. So there are different kind of consumer behaviors and the way people consume. So it becomes more and more important that we come back to these forums and start learning from each other that how we can improvise our formats to be ready for tomorrow. So at Franchise India, we had a great journey over 18 years to work with over 1,000 odd brands. Most of the brands we went and knocked the door. As a friend of ours sitting here called Ferns and Petals, I remember our office was just about like a mile away from them. We used to go every day to tell them that, look, why don't you franchise? It's a simple flower shop business. And now it's a big chain. We are all proud of it. So our journey really went on going to any successful food outlet, any successful restaurant, any successful salon. A friend of mine runs now 540 salons called Naturals in south of India. I remember I missed my flight. I was going to Colombo. That's where the journey started. And now we're for 540 salons, and recently texted me that how can we plan to do another 3,000 salons in this country. So I think while we have done that work and we have also sold franchisees to everybody who had some money in the pocket, sometimes not so much of money in the pocket and things like that, but I've realized that the greater need is not just continue to bring more franchise systems in the marketplace, the need is also make them sustainable. Because last 18 years, our journey at Franchise India was more about driving that more people come in the franchise system and more people buy them. Now our focus is how do we make this industry largely sustainable? And the sustainability would come from overall performance of businesses, overall performance of franchisees, and so on and so forth. So we need to deliver success through best practices. And this forum is all about that. This forum is all about bringing best practices to the ecosystem of franchising. So what is Indian franchise system? It's very important for everybody to understand. We have 4,000 active franchise systems in this country. A large part of work would be done by Franchise India. Obviously, we bring these companies and say, oh, you can make a lot of stores quickly, faster, across India if you franchise. So we have 4,000 franchise systems. 93% are domestic. Only 7% are international brands. Less than 1% franchise overseas. You know, I was speaking on one of the forums, my dear friend Rod is here in Australia, and they had 35% of franchise systems which were looking to go abroad. So we have less than 1%. With such a large ecosystem we have created, we have only 1% who are either going or willing to go abroad. 26% of all franchise buyers are first-time buyers. which is very unique. I find in my shows, it looks like a college function. So everybody is coming from like a young graduate coming on and looking to buy a franchise. He might be accompanied with a very seasoned father who has run the business, but the people who are making the decision of buying a franchise are extremely young, and they're buying first time. So we need to be even more responsible because they might not have the greatest business acumen. They might need a lot of training, but they're great enthusiasts. They have a lot of energy to contribute. And also another statistics which we should really not ignore is that 65% of franchise systems survive first 3 years. 35% fail. Another statistics, 40% out of them remain compliant. So there is a huge issue. Majority of franchise systems are not so compliant in terms of their performance. So what is the bigger issue? Another statistics I'll give you which will shock you. Out of the 4,000 franchise systems, we have 150 companies only in this country which have 100 unit plus. And bigger shocking is, out of that 150 companies, there are only 25 companies, like Nokia, who would have more than 500 units. So while we are making these large franchise companies, but we have not made any impact. So to make an impact, you need a Nokia. That was the impact in telecom at that time. You need to have a Titan to make an impact in the industry. So we've not really made these large mega corporations, and that's probably the bigger difference than the larger economy performances of United States and India, because US, we produce these mega brands. There are about 1,000 franchise systems which have more than 1,000 units in the United States. That's impact. So what we need to do and what we need in India is these mega franchise corporations. You need to have companies which plan. I mean, I did recently a product for Reliance for their 4G business, and the chairman, Mr. Mukesh Ambani's vision was very clearly that go out and open up 4,000 stores in 2 years. They already did about 1,800. So that's an impact. So I feel that more and more larger companies or even visionary entrepreneurs have to come who needs to go out and create this bigger rollout. Another big example which I am very proud of is Cafe Coffee Day. Cafe Coffee Day runs about 1,600 plus units. It's now the second coffee chain in the world. It took 15 years to build the second largest chain. Give us 15 years more, we'll become the largest chain in the world. So that's an opportunity which an Indian entrepreneur can create. We should be very proud of that. While I'm extremely also excited about Starbucks and the opportunities provided by them, but I think we have also within India greater opportunity to produce some mega brands. So what it needs to do that? Another area to build a real impact is that how can we produce Make in India franchise brand to the world? You know, I travel a lot, almost every country I go there and start looking around. We've really not made an effort to build an Indian brand going overseas. Nothing. I mean, we were just having a chat with Andy and he said, oh, I should remember some brand, and he then said Tata Motors. That's about it. We have really not invested in building interesting brands which can go abroad. I feel this forum should be start of that thinking process, not that it's going to be built in a day, but I think we can build some greater brands out of India which can become franchise brands of the world. So what it takes to do that, and what are the issues which we have in industry, why we are not able to create a significant performance? I have listed down few. One is we don't set a bigger vision. We are very regional. We are trying to do the fulfillment of whatever product we have. We don't think that we are a serious franchise company. So we don't really expand or put focus behind it. Second is financial performance. I personally feel, and I liked quarter tak, which sir said, I feel that Indian businesses are extremely tight. Very, very tight. Our input cost is high. Our margin is low, and we have this huge pressure of people telling us that, look, India is a value market. So how do we do business? Most of the businesses, entrepreneurs I meet are extremely tight. If one quarter they don't perform, the next quarter they don't go. So how can we make business models much more sustainable? That's a bigger worry. Undercapitalization of both the franchise companies and franchises, I see a big worry. A lot of franchisees walk into my office and say, oh, I want to buy a franchise. I ask them, what do you want? What price? They say, oh, maybe 50 lakhs. I already know that he has 25 with him. He'll borrow 15 and he manage 10. So which is very dangerous because the next month he will not have money to run and operate. So undercapitalization is killing that. Commitment to relationships, while we are very committed by relationships, but we don't have systems to protect that relationships. We produce technology, but we don't use technology. That's a problem. We don't have original concepts. That's another worry I have, is that we need to bring in some very interesting original concepts. We don't have to just land in London and just look around and say, oh, this looks interesting, this would do in India. Well, and I can create a second copy of that or third copy of that. We need to bring in some very original formats. I remember a friend of ours now walked into one of our conferences long back in 2003 or 4, and he says, I want to create a Vada Pav brand. It's called a Jumbo Vada Pav. And he created that, and he probably runs about 100 plus stores today. But what he also created was a category. There were other 10 Jumbo Vada Pav brands which came in the market, and they all created some numbers. Today, we probably would have in this country about 2,000 Vada Pav branded shops. Ferns and Petals is a great example of that. A lot of other companies which we have created great categories. So we need to think a little fresh. We obviously lack government, banking and finance support. We need that. The minister would be here. We will again talk to him, request him for looking at this industry, which is a fairly large contributor of economy. And our real estate costs are very high. Another area which I feel, which is very, very important for everybody to understand, historically, we all come from distribution background. So we've used franchising as a way of selling our product or service. So what we do is we push the product and focus only on the product side, create innovation on the product. But we forget the difference between a distribution franchise model and a business format franchising is, in this case, you don't only give your product, but you give him know-how to conduct a business. So that's something which needs investment on. Even the largest companies need to see how do you deliver to the last mile and how do you enable that person who's going to deliver to your customer is more important. Now let's understand a little bit on a franchisee side, who is he, where is he coming from, and so on and so forth. I divide the franchisee into 3 parts. One is enthusiasts. These people have over-ambition. They're excited. They follow their passion and buy a business, but they are always expecting a much more than businesses can deliver. Second group, I call them experienced. These are people we love. They have experience, they know what they can do and what their obligations are. And third are more seasoned entrepreneurs. Some of the bottlers, Pepsi has, are very, very seasoned entrepreneurs. They know there will be good times in business, there will be bad times in business. This partnership is for long. So they, I feel, are serious partners who stand by companies and run for many, many years. Now I'll touch upon, before I close, some of the trends which you would see in changing in franchising. One of the trends I see, which we cannot ignore now, is e-commerce. We cannot live without it. We need to create models which incorporate e-commerce. There is an interesting model I'm developing for one of our clients, is of dark stores. I found that we paid expensive rentals to have stores in prime locations just because it acted for a consumer acquisition strategy. But now the consumer acquisition now going into an app, I don't need that expensive store. But I still need to do fulfillment. So I call it a dark store franchise models. So if I was, say, in a party supply business, I need to be in the right neighborhood, but not in a prime location. A customer can walk into my website or an app, choose the product, and it will be delivered from a neighborhood store. So that's a new concept which I feel would happen. Another area which I think is about loyalty. I feel that that term is dead. People are no more loyal, so to say. What they want is whosoever would service them fast and fresh, they would go to them. Look at all these three marketplaces fighting with each other. Whosoever gets on the deal first or gets the better deal, people go and shop there. So you don't really follow that, oh, I only go on Amazon, or you go entire thing. You follow who has the greater product and who can deliver faster. Direct to home concepts, you will see a lot of businesses which would now evolve. It's very big in US. You have concepts like man and the truck concepts, direct to home concepts. You will see a lot of the service businesses now evolving in franchising. International franchising would play a very, very important role. Crowd financing is a fabulous idea. Community financing, fabulous idea for franchising. I also feel that the multi-franchise brand owners, so you will get these serial franchise owners who in that city, they would own multiple brands. So I know a lot of them. There is a gentleman who's taken 26 stores from me in Bombay, and 18 of them are only in Linking Road. 18 different stores only on Linking Road, Bandra. Franchise-focused funds, we are talking to few. You will see a lot of funds being raised who would fund franchise organizations. Another area which is very exciting for me, which I think as a franchise company or a brand owner you need to think through. Recently, last year, I felt that we should have some big brands with us. So without naming them, I went to these brands which were lasting for 20 years, 30 years, big presence, mega organizations and so on and so forth, and started marketing them aggressively. And every time I wanted to sell this brand to somebody, they said, no, this is not exciting. So I started looking around why it is not so exciting, while the brand was the most important thing. Then I realized that big is not good enough. But brand being cool is interesting. For example, there is a drink company recently in market which sells this Aam Panna or Jaljeera for 100 rupees. It breaks your logic. If anybody was designing a product and thought that how can you sell a Aam Panna for 100 rupees? Because it was cool. I remember in our college days or getting into business, Pepsi used to run Fountain Pepsi. That was cool. It was not really about the product differentiation. It was the last mile experience which changed the product. So I think if we have to be relevant in the marketplace, we need to become a cooler brand. In London, I went there and picked up a coffee table book called the London's Coolest Brands. Super Brand did it because they felt, if you do a New York Super Brands to a London Super Brands to a Dubai to India, you will repeat the same brands. Maybe they had a need to do another coffee book, so they created a cool brands of UK. And it had some very interesting brand. There was a gym company which I am talking to, which has a full DJ running in their business. So in the evening when you go there, a DJ plays and people walk on a treadmill. And they're all good-looking people, men and women. So it's a very cool brand. So I feel, unless and until you're relevant. Another example I'll give you, I was in a flight with the CEO for a company which we advise, large company, fashion. He says, Gaurav, do you think everybody's sale is down this season? I go, yeah, there is a little bit effect. But no, there is a big impact. Sales is big time down. I go, yours is down because Zara happened to you. You're no more relevant. You're no more fashionable for people to carry your bag also. So how do we have brands or businesses which would still be relevant and aspiration for people to buy? Finally, my advice is that if you're getting into franchise, think long term. Don't just get into the business because you don't have enough cash. I feel that franchising is done best for reasons of bringing the last mile entrepreneur value. Somebody who would be much more responsible for your brand and custodian of your brand at the last mile to serve your customer. So my wishes, best wishes for each one of you to have a great day ahead. Thank you very much. Thanks, Pepsi, for giving us this great opportunity to bring this show together. Thanks.